Hey everyone, this is Tamara Childs, your psychic intuitive on one2listen.com. And I'm here with my friend Ruth McCants, astrologer and sound healer. Ruth. Hi, Ruth.
Good afternoon. I think it's almost afternoon for
Yeah, it's
us.
close to
Yeah,
afternoon. This
yeah,
is
yeah.
Thursday. It is, what is the date today?
August 17th.
It's August the 17th,
Mm-hmm.
2017. This is your weekly energy update. And I'm sure you're feeling the Mercury retrograde, as well as a lot of the other retrogrades in the air, um, and climbing up toward the solar eclipse on Monday. We have a lot of energies to talk about today. And um, so where should we start today, Ruth?
Well, when you asked me the date and I said the 17th, suddenly the star card from
Uh-huh.
the tarot deck
Yeah.
popped into my mind.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm actually seeing on the Rider deck and other decks, you have the figure pouring water into this pool. So that's kind of what this all feels like. What is it that we are either pouring into the pool, and perhaps when we put our container into the pool, what are we bringing back?
Oh, that is perfect. That is so perfect for the energy right now, because I think a lot of people have been, especially with the events coming up through the past week, and in Charlottesville. And it's kind of, it started a lot of new conversations for a lot of people about related to politics and distress and the right versus the left, and discrimination and all of these kinds of issues coming up. And so a lot of the people that I've been speaking to on a daily basis have been telling me that they're trying to keep their head above water and trying to, the pool has some toxicity in it, let's put it that way. And I think so much right now what we need to do is focus inward on what we can constructively create right now, instead of this feeling of distress and reaction toward the world around us. I mean, this is a very challenging week.
And you just said it. I'm going to say it's a little bit of a challenge, because you know why? This is a mirroring time. We've
Yeah.
all been challenged, but when it comes together in a kind of collective reality,
Mm-hmm.
we then go, oh my God, look at everything going on around us. But I think the real truth is that each and every day we're all faced with challenges. And if we could attend to those, they wouldn't mirror back so blatantly in our collective, if each one of us could just go ahead and face whatever it is that we are dealing with. For example, we just finished with the lunar eclipse. The
Mm-hmm.
lunar eclipse truly is about having to face those shadowy patterns and attitudes and behaviors within ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
But if we don't do that individually, suddenly, quote unquote,
Mm-hmm.
the world will mirror our collective refusal to do our inner work.
Like a healing crisis. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that's sort of a relevant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, certainly there are people who say, for example, um, in the 60s, what they fought for is not happening now, when in fact we're just experiencing the sort of off-gassing of the Pluto-Uranus square that's been in just the recent, just recently, we the past couple of years, where we've started to, it's the next layer of
Yes.
information for people,
Yes.
and they're facing, well, what would it be like? I wonder what it would be like if this wasn't underground anymore for me, and if I had to face this in my day-to-day life. Well, that's what's being answered right now.
Absolutely. Because each one of us does. And the reason I lean to the side of having to do one's own personal work, we don't react so, uh, I guess the only word that I can think of is so stringently when we've been doing our own work. We can be more balanced, and then we can give whatever because creativity is one of the remedies. Loving other people, and I don't say that in a conditional way. I mean, being able to recognize the uniqueness of every person. And that's where we sit at this point. When we refuse to recognize, because even the people over there in kind of a negative way are still saying, look at me, because that is the secret, but it's yet not a secret, because everybody wants that. Who am I? I need to understand who I am. And since those people don't know how to do it for themselves, they get together in a group, and then they do some very not positive things.
Yeah, there's sort of power in the group. There's power in so sometimes if you're not sure who you are on the inside, if you join with a group, you can start to feel like, oh, well, now I know who I am.
Right.
Have solidarity.
Right.
And whether you're on the right or the left, this can happen with us. And
you know, Tamara, to the right or left are just descriptors on this plane of existence. But in the inner world, there is no right or left. There's only one self.
Yeah, that's a novel idea for a lot of us right now in the world, because there's this idea that, and I'd like to bring out one of the cards that I drew, which is Harmony. This is the Osho Zen deck. Isn't that beautiful?
It is.
And clearly this is showing her eyes are closed, and the place where she's feeling harmony is when she focuses within. It's not, and this is the opposite of a little bit what the trend is in the world right now, which is I'll feel validated if you agree with me, and we can meet in agreement in society. You know, that these people believe what I believe, so we're in agreement. And so now I feel in harmony. But that's not really what this time is calling for. I feel so much of an inward pull right now, Ruth, as we're sort of, it's almost like, you know, when you see those waves on the ocean beach and they pull back to go into a really big wave, everything's pulling inward with all these retrograde planets. And we're being asked to, I'll use the word separate. It's almost like to find oneness, we have to pull inside of our own spiritual being right now. And because this is a big shift about to occur for a lot of people, I think with the solar eclipse as well, that this is a very big growth time. And so it's hard to be in growth when your eyes and your ears and your energy's out feeling the world and feeling what other people think and trying to find agreement for who we are. You know what I'm saying?
I'm hearing it very clearly. You put it in a very succinct way, because if you think about the eclipse itself, it's a merging. It's a merging.
That's
if
true.
We look at it from the sacred spiritual place, it's a merging of the two energies that create the very essence, the very us. The sun and moon represent the universe itself, the cosmos, and it's coming together. And out of that, something has to be born. And sometimes birth is not pretty. It can be messy,
no one
messy,
can really
messy.
help you do it. You know, it's something, it's like the contractions from within, right?
That's right.
I'm feeling that contraction right now before this new moon eclipse, and feeling that people are having to, also for their own physical, mental, emotional, and energetic health, pull inward and away from the fray and find their own values and their own sense of inner harmony. I'll show this card again. You know, again, her eyes are closed. She's not looking out toward the world. She's feeling it inside. Sometimes you have to close your eyes to feel what's in here. You have to kind of have that. You have to close out the world so that you can feel that bliss that she's feeling. Now, Another of the cards that I got, and I got compromise. And you can see the looks on their faces. I don't know if you can, but
And it looks just, yes, it's
yeah,
just exactly what's going on around us. That card looks like
I know. It looks like,
the energy, the swirlingness.
it does. And even just the green faces, the green, the green look to them, they just look like they're uncomfortable. They look like, and so the question to our viewers is, right now, how are you not going inward and saying to yourself, well, I have to interact with these people, or I have to watch the news, or I have to do this, or I have to, sell my soul to the devil for money, whatever, but I have to compromise that harmony in order to engage in the physical world right now. I think that question is coming up for a lot of people, including a question of their value, or the value of the world and the way the system is set up right now. I feel like a lot of people are searching for how can their inner values that bring them harmony actually be presented in their world.
Well, I have a question.
Yeah.
When you said that, I have a question. What if you ask yourself, can I give myself permission to put all of those have tos, my shoulds, over here on the side for a second, and envision, because the eclipse and the new moon is, by definition, says, look, can you envision something entirely new? The possibilities, because when we had the full moon in Aquarius, that's a setup. It was a setup for the vision. And then the new moon in Leo says, can you go inward, just as you're pointing out?
Yeah.
Are you willing to go in, take one thing as your heart's desire? But that means you have to set aside all of those shoulds and have tos for a minute. Now, if you choose to go back and pick them up, that's fine. You can carry the load if you like. But we all have an opportunity. That's what this whole portal, this energetic shift is all about. We get a chance collectively and personally to make an inroad. We actually get a chance. Now, we can keep going. Can you hold that card up again with the faces?
Compromise.
We can keep going in that direction right there. We can fight inside ourselves, and we can fight with each other. We have that choice. But there's a big question mark what happens when you choose that kind of interaction. So we each have a choice right now.
Yeah, I like that. And because this eclipse is in the sign of Leo, and people have their sun viewing glasses, and people are traveling by countless numbers to Wyoming, for example, near me, to view it. I would like to propose that this shift is that inward path where we look at something we want to create that is our unique expression. You and I talk about this when we're not on the air, that we each have something that we can create that isn't out there in the world yet. It's just our own fun, funky, interesting creation. And this solar eclipse is really saying, what could bring you joy to create?
I'm going to add to, I'm going to add to that, and the way we can pinpoint it is if you take your own astrological chart, your map, and you find where your eclipse is sitting. Personally, mine is sitting right at the edge of the 3rd and 4th houses. So I know that this eclipse is telling me I've got to deal with some communication, further refined, because Mercury is also sitting there for me, and it's in the 4th house. So that means finishing, looking at stuff from the past, clearing out, but at least I know the particular position and space that needs to be dealt with. Houses
Yeah.
in astrology have to do with circumstances, environments,
Yeah.
people. So
Areas
each
of
one of us, don't worry about see, the thing that I'm noticing, particularly with social media, is when we project outward, we're externalized to others. We're not looking at our own space. Say if right now, this is just an example, if the eclipse is going to hit in your seventh house, I would encourage a person to pay attention to their relationships. Get over there and do your seventh house stuff, as opposed to worrying about somebody who's up in the 10th house, because your work is over here in the seventh house.
It's really important right now to at least have some sense of your chart so that you can know, because in other words, even though the eclipses will call dramatic attention to that part of our lives anyway, I find that eclipses are always very hard to miss. It's still nice. It's less painful for you if you're not sort of being torn from another part of your life over to where the eclipse really wants you to focus. And we get, this is our voice of God moment where God is saying, here's where I'd like a new beginning for you. Here is where we are creating a new beginning for the evolutionary growth of you as a being and a soul. And
Tamara, I want to add to that we're co-creators. See,
yes.
Goddess might say, look, this is where it lands, but it's a co-creative experience. We get to cooperate because we're a part of the whole, not a little bitty thing. We have a major ability to connect with this whole change, because change is here.
That's right. That's right. And our lives are in agreement for our evolution. And so, and not getting into the whole conversation of how much of our lives are scripted and how much are free will. There are people who feel that much of it is scripted and people who feel that none of it is scripted. It's just, they decide. And I guess each of us gets to decide how much of it we want to feel scripted, what dictates how we feel at a given moment in our lives. Another card that I got, Ruth, is fluorite. And
that's beautiful.
Isn't that beautiful?
I was going to show you.
I think I have.
I have a piece of fluorite here. This is.
What's funny is I think I have one that's in this shape too somewhere.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
And then here's this oval one.
Nice.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I love fluorite. Now, if our viewers don't know what fluorite is for, I discovered fluorite really a long time ago. For me, fluorite is for this ability to not be influenced unduly by the energies around us and the ability to focus and concentrate. Right now, we're in a time of a lot of distraction, and sometimes clients will ask about cutting cords or pulling cords. Well, fluorite is a natural cord detacher in the sense that it sort of doesn't really allow cords to get plugged in as easily, so you can focus on what you need to focus on your particular new moon beginnings that you need that this divine moment that's coming up for all of us. And so fluorite is, I think that's why she's calling it self-discipline, just that you can see that the crystal is standing on its own. And this is sort of what I feel we need to at least have a nod to the eclipse with, that this is the energy being asked for, is to kind of look at our own particular structures and allow ourselves to be separate and not as influenced right now. And I know this is a challenge because
it is a challenge.
People are screaming, it's very full of distraction right now.
You know, when I use fluorite, you, you mentioned that it helps you to stay focused in the sense that it filters. It's like a natural filter.
Yeah.
And I actually use fluorite near the computer as a
Yes.
filtering
Yes.
because of, again, we're talking all of this energy, and
Yeah.
definitely, you know, the computer has a component of the energy. But I like your description. That's really very helpful to have something to help us filter.
Yeah, and actually, the idea is that it's so easy to get distracted right now and lose yourself, for example, on social media, or lose yourself sort of wading through things, extraneous details you think you have to wade through that are none of your business. And this card is, and this energy of fluoride is about saying, pull within and find what is most important to you. Do you really need to sort out that conversation that people are having over here? Do you need to run interference here?
Can you say that again? Say that once more, because you said something really, really, it's not your business.
Yes, it's none of your business. And this is good. This is about keeping our eyes on our own page. This is about staying in our own lane. And this is about, because that is what self-actualization asks for through this eclipse, is that in order to actualize the self, you can't be scattered and into all the gossip stuff and trying to micromanage other people's stuff about stuff. And you have to stay focused, and that's a pulling inward thing.
I want to show you two cards, and it really is what you're saying. This is using Doreen Virtue angel cards,
Yeah.
and I've got the 8. Let me see that.
It's a little shiny. Okay, it's
Yeah.
the 8 of fire. Ooh.
And 8, by definition, is a card. The number 8 is about having to balance the physical and the spiritual.
Yeah, that infinity.
Because that's right. It's an infinity sign. And that's where we are sitting right now.
Yeah.
We're sitting at this place of not being distracted and having to balance the self, because there was another what was your first card?
Harmony.
Yeah, the harmony card.
Mm-hmm.
Because that seems to be the very first thing that the solar eclipse is saying. Mm-hmm. We've got to find that balance within the self.
Because we're each here to do special work, whatever that work is. It can be inner work, it could be relationship work, it could be work in the world. There's a piece of work that, how would we feel if 40 years went by and we were so distracted by what other people thought and what other people are doing, and what if this happens and what if that happens, and we don't get our personal expression for our soul's purpose out into the world, or expressed through the emotions, or expressed through time alone needing to be spent.
Absolutely.
Some people, their life purpose is to spend more time alone so they can have that experience of themselves. So I think, and the timer did go off, I have to tell you, but this is very much a time, that's where maybe this, she calls this self-discipline with the crystal cards, because I think we have to kind of remind ourselves and be disciplined about, I need to pull inward. I need to separate from all the threads that are pulling on me, and just say, no, it's none of my business.
And I want to show you the antidote to that is the 3 of air. Air is, whenever I see an air card, and some other suits, they call it, the swords, but it's conflict and it's resolving. And just what you said, pulling in, doing your own expressive kinds of work, whatever it is that can take you to a place of rest. This card basically is saying, there. In fact, I'm going to read the description she has on here. This is really, I think it's timely. Great sadness. take time to heal, the need to forgive yourself or others.
It's great.
I think it really
That is
says,
really profound.
yeah,
I love that, because also we won't allow new opportunities into our lives. We won't allow ourselves to have the highest expression of our potential if we
absolutely.
don't forgive ourselves for something we think we haven't done well in the past. And
And Tamara, I just want to comment. All of the people, whoever they are, the marchers, everybody,
mhm,
they are charged with the same life purpose, soul work, no matter who they are.
mhm.
And it's really important for us not to be yes, we can see that they're going through whatever they're decided to go through, because that's a choice. But again, they are responsible for what their own soul life cosmic purpose is.
And everyone, I always like to think of consciousness as sort of bandwidths or something. And
I like that word.
I know, I like
That is
bandwidth,
great. Bandwidth. That's right.
because
We're all
you
in a
have
bandwidth. I like that.
the thin strands, and then you've got the thick ones, and everyone. So people have different bandwidths and different tolerances and different learning spaces, but they all have access, because we are one and came from one source. They have access to source equally, and
Mhm.
sometimes we forget this. Especially when there are a lot of healer helper archetypes amongst us, we feel like, well, let me solve this person's consciousness problem. Well, that's not your job. It's not your business. And what if you pulled back? I've said this sometimes to clients, and saw that person that you see as handicapped and crippled in some way in the consciousness arena, and saw them as having just equal access to consciousness, just like you do, equal
Right.
access to source. They
Absolutely.
have a different
Absolutely.
bandwidth. And
I love that. That is powerful. A different band. That is fabulous. Yes.
well,
Mhm.
it's hard, because when we have a certain bandwidth, we project that as other people having it. Like, well, why aren't they doing what I would do? Well, they have a different story and bandwidth.
Mhm.
And so, but they have equal access to source.
That's right.
And so
And I want to add to that
yeah.
each person's soul development is along with your bandwidth is at a
Mhm.
certain stage, and you're absolutely right. It's not up to any of us to
No.
change someone else's soul perspective. We
Right.
cannot. We
It may
can't
be very
change.
valuable for them, and it's not up to us to correct what they're doing. And I think there's a huge emphasis, huge distress in the world right now about people wanting to say what other people are doing is bad and wrong, and they want to correct it. They want to reach out like it's on a chess game and move that chess piece to a different location. Well,
Hmm.
keep our eyes on our own page right now. This is really important.
Right.
And I do want to tell our viewers that you are going to be on the radio show with me tomorrow, and we're going to continue to talk more specifically about releasing or unraveling oppression of the self,
Hmm.
even if you're experiencing it in the outside world. So that's going to be on 1-2 Radio at 10 a.m. Pacific, and I hope you will all join us, because I love to have Ruth as a guest, and she's not on with me very often, but whenever I can grab her, I love to have her on.
And I'm looking forward to it, sweetheart. It's going to be
Yeah,
great.
it'll be good, and we'll continue this conversation. I want to thank everyone for tuning in, even if you're seeing it after the eclipse and you've had your awakened moment. And please do subscribe. As always, feel free to share this video if you like it. And we will see you on the radio show tomorrow. And I'll put the links below for how you can get a reading
Right.
or more contact with both Ruth and with me. Anything else, Ruth, before we go?
Well, I think we're just going to continue this. We're putting it on the pause button, and they can come
Yeah.
tomorrow and check us out.
12radio.com, guys. Thank you so much for listening, and enjoy this eclipse.
We'll see you tomorrow.
Okay.